we wanted to talk a little in more detail today about data governance as both a defensive and offensive approach. What do we mean by that? When we're saying defense and offense, what are we trying to achieve?
Yeah. So mostly data governance understood as a defensive approach, in the sense that people think that they have to just do the data governance in order to make sure that I'm compliant with the law of the land, right? That is the general tendency to understand data. And they think, okay, we have to do the data governance because we have to comply with the law, but let me focus on analytics. Let me focus on machine learning. And the data governance is anybody's doing it. That is a defensive approach. Like generally we use the defensive approach for the other kind of compliances which is there. You create a department, and mostly the CEOs are the one, or the authority with the signing it, but they're trying to minimize the budget there. They're not trying to focus too much. On the other side, their department like marketing or something will try to focus quite a bit because it can directly affecting it. But the offensive approach, what it does is that it converts the same techniques you have about data governance. It create the efficiency in the process of data value creation, right? It improves the data adoption. So as you are creating the same technique of data governance to create the building the trust within the business community of the data, creating the efficiency of the data, and creating more data adoption, that becomes the data as an offense than data as a defense. Defense is more about compliance, regulatory compliance. It's ensuring the lights are on, and then just making sure that the things are up to date. That is where the things was there. Earlier, people were doing the defensive approach because of the inavailability of the tools. So now the tools have speed up the process so much for the data governance that it is really become useful to do it in offense. Earlier it was not possible because the tools was not there. So people, you have to do it manually, all the work. So like, okay, it's too much work to do it. So better to use it just for keep the lights on kind of thing, like keep the regulatory compliances.
So would you say that we're kind of talking, maybe a synonym for this would be, we're talking about a reactive approach versus a more proactive, that now since we have those tools, we can approach data governance even more proactively while still having that different defensive techniques? Would you say that would be another way to explain it?
I think that is that's another way to explain it. Like let's say you are in an industry where it does not apply a law, right? So say, for example, you do not operate in California, you are not in a European Union, you are in Texas, and you are an oil company, right? So there is no regulation is applying to you, neither the laws application or neither a kind of a utility company's kind of regulations are there. But still you can use for offensive reason for data governance. Of course, you have the companies which is operate in California and in Europe. They have to make sure that they are complying with the privacy laws. If they are banking company, then they have to make sure that they comply with the banking regulations. So the regulations does not always dependent on every company, but the approach can be used there are other benefit, which is, we call it offense, which is productivity gain and more about like building the trust of the data.